Hi there, and welcome back or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Amy, and I have an unfortunate obsession with Formula One. Now, today we're not actually talking about Formula One again, we're talking about Formula 2. Now, I have convinced you to watch Supercars in the past, and I'm going to assume I convinced all of you to do so. So now it's time for another one of my favourite racing series in the world, Formula 2. Now I know what you're thinking. Formula 2 on top of Formula 1. Is that not too much racing for a singular weekend? No, it is not. I personally think Formula 2 helps build up the hype and the event of Formula 1. Besides, it's not always on the same weekend as F1. It does have a lot more weekends off, so in fact, there's only 14 rounds, so only 14 weekends of your life every year. It's not that much commitment. Nothing for me. And trust me, you're going to want to tune in to at least some of these races because these drivers are essentially the future of Formula 1 and a lot of other motorsports around the world. So, if you want to be like, yeah, I supported them since the junior career, hop on the hype train now. Because even though this championship has only been around since 2017, a number of its graduates have already made it to Formula 1 and competed successfully. Now there are a number of graduates on the current grid, including Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Yuki Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou, Oscar Piastri, Nick De Vries, and Logan Sargent, all making the step up. And there are a few others, such as Rachel Latifi and Mazepin were in Formula 2, as was Mick Schumacher. They might not be in the sport anymore, but they were still graduates of this racing series nonetheless. Now, for the technical side of Formula 2. It is technically a spec series, so even playing field. Each team must build a car with the general bodywork and frame made by Dallara, and then all the engines are V6 3.4 litre single turbocharged Mechachrome engines. Yeah, so they all run the same chassis and engine, and most of the other same parts are the same. It's just up to the teams that sort of make the difference in the championship. That being said, for these teams, the weekends are jam-packed. And not with a bunch of somewhat useless practice sessions such as in F1, most of the sessions are in fact competitive. They only get one practice session on the Friday. That and the fact that they are still very much junior drivers and still haven't fully developed, it makes for a very interesting weekend and a bit of general chaos. Don't get me wrong, most of them are good drivers. And the frontrunners are excellent, even though most of them probably won't make that step to Formula 1 due to the limited amount of seats. That's just the truth. However, makes it a bit more spicier because they all want to get into F1. So after practice, we have qualifying in the afternoon, and this operates in a slightly different way to Formula 1. It's not a knockout Q1, Q2, Q3 system, but rather simply a timed one. So the drivers all have 30 minutes to go out and set the fastest time possible. Now this provides sort of an interesting thing because obviously you want to be the last person on the track to set the time thanks to track evolution, but this is F2 we're talking about, so people will most likely crash at some point during this session. So you sort of have to find a balance between going out too early and too late, or doing multiple runs, like even in a row, to try and set the best up. So there are a bunch of different strategies that can still play out within such like a limited amount of time. Now this race takes place on Friday and it will set the grid order for the feature race on the Sunday. However, for the sprint race on the Saturday you do a sort of reverse grid for the top 10 only. So if you qualify first on Friday, you will start 10th on Saturday but first on Sunday, and vice versa throughout the top 10. Now onto the race format. F2 utilizes a sprint race on Saturday, as I've said. These usually last about 45 minutes, and the top 8 receiving points, with first getting 10 down to 8th getting 1. On Sunday is the feature race, and this usually goes for about an hour and a half, and is the race just before Formula 1. This time the top 10 get points, so first gets 25 and 10th gets 1, as well as a fastest lap point for each race. Obviously, you can only get this point if you finish in the top 10. You know how earlier I mentioned that it is technically a spec series, so technically the field is even. Like any other sport, F2 has teams that tend to do well year on year. This is due to a number of factors, thanks to, the amount of receiving they receive from drivers and other sort of sponsorships, the team personnel. Some teams have better personnel, and of course track knowledge from previous years. So the longer the team has been in the sport, sort of the more understanding of the tracks they're going to have, and they know where they can do well and where they won't do well. At the moment, these front-running teams include MP Motorsport, who won the championship with Felipe Drugovich last season. Also, ART and Prema are usually up there. However, Campos could be a team to keep an eye on this season. As I am writing this, they are at the top of the F2 Championship. Keep in mind, this is before the Australian Grand Prix, so after 2 rounds, they are at the top of the championship. Then there are the drivers, the next generation of motorsport talent, so to speak. And really, there are so many you could support because it is a very tight team. It is a very tight championship, so it can sort of go either way. I'll list off some of my favorites, and I will also give you some of just the top ones to look out for who I think are going to do really well, even though they might not necessarily be my favorite driver on the grid. A little scroll so you may follow. So there are 2 or 3 drivers that I mainly support. I used to support heaps of drivers in F2, but a couple of them have, graduated and moved on to other motorsport series, as sort of happens year on year. Okay, so Jack Doohan, the Aussie guy. Obviously I support the Aussie, and I do think he does pretty well. He is a championship favourite going into the season. There's also Dennis Hauger, who I support, mainly because he's a Red Bull Junior, and I was like, I gotta pick one of the 6 Red Bull cars on the grid to support. That's right, there's 6 or 7 Red Bull livery cars on the grid. It gets very confusing. They all drive for different teams as well, so have fun with that. In terms of F2 rookies, I would sort of be looking at Victor Martins and Oliver Bearman. They did really well on F3 last year and took the championship down to the absolute wire. Other drivers you can sort of expect to do well on the grid: Iwasa, Fittipaldi, they're both Red Bull drivers coincidentally. Teo Pourchaire and Vesti are, again, championship favourites. They both race for ART and Prema, respectively. Oh, and Zane Maloney. He's another one. He's another Red Bull junior who came from F3. Yeah, there's a lot of drivers to choose from, so again, I recommend you just watch, learn, study, see which ones you like, see whose vibe you like. If there's any from your country, you may as well support them. If you have a favourite F1 team, chances are they have a driver in F2. Well, a few teams do, so Ferrari does, Mercedes does. Red Bull obviously has tons. You have Alpine Juniors, Alfa Romeo, Sauber Juniors. Yeah. Williams as well, I think. I don't know if they have any this year, but they drove Juniors sometimes. So, I've mentioned the current crop of F2 drivers. I've mentioned the ones that have made it to F1. But obviously, there are going to be a fair few absolutely brilliant and talented drivers who don't make it to F1. Again, lack of seats. People don't really like giving up the spot in F1, which, fair enough. But this doesn't mean that the drivers that don't make it are bad. There are plenty of other motorsport disciplines for them to join and do well in. And they have. So I'm going to list some of the most notable ones. There's going to be quite a bit pre-morning. In the GT World Challenge, we have Jack Aitken, who used to be a reserve driver for Williams for a few years and raced in F1 for 2 races. We also have Robert Schwartzman racing in the series. He is a current Ferrari junior and reserve driver. In IndyCar, there's a fair few, so we have Marcus Armstrong, Callum Ilott, Christian Lundgaard, Alex Palou, and Pato O'Ward. In the World Endurance Championship, we have Ollie Caldwell, Antonio Fuccio, and Ben Fiscal. And in Formula E, we have Max Gunther, Jack Hughes, Dan Ticktum, and Oliver Rowland. And finally, I just wanted to mention Liam Lawson as well. He's racing in Super Formula, but he is still a reserve and testing driver for the Red Bull team, as well as last year's champion Felipe Drugovich. I don't think he's racing in any big series this year, but he is a testing and reserve driver for Aston Martin. And I'm sure there are plenty that I just haven't mentioned because there are a lot of them who have all gone on to do some pretty cool and amazing things. So, this brings this video to a wrap. I hope I have convinced you to watch F2 if only for a couple of races. It's because this season is set to be a banger. I say that every year. Because it is. Let me know in the comments down below if there are any other racing series you want me to cover or talk about or go into more detail on. If you like the video, then like it and press the red button to subscribe for more F1 and motorsport related content. And I will see you all in the next one. Laters.